Hello Dave is brought to you ad-free by my supporters on Patreon. Become a Patreon yourself and get your name listed as a supporter at the end of every video by following the link in the video description. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Hello Dave with downtoearthastronomy. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Let's have a look at what's been going on in the past week. Now, not a whole lot has actually been going on this past week, but there is something that I want to talk about, and this is not really a news. It's been like this for a long time. It's all around the BGS, or background simulation. Now, if you're completely new to the game, the background simulation is the part of the game that handles which states the different systems are in and how much influence different factions have in the system. And this can be manipulated, and it is being manipulated to a large degree by players. And this is why people often would create squadrons. You can align you up with a faction, and then you can try to work for that faction. And I have a faction as well. We have a faction in the community around the channel here called SerectLab. And I was talking with some of the faction planners, which, by the way, do an amazing job. So they basically post daily orders every day to kind of give people an idea about what we need to do in order to progress with the faction. And so it also works for like a set of daily missions, if you like, where you can go and you can follow those. And if you do those, you will then help advance and help increase the influence of SerectLab. But anyway, we were talking, just, they mainly handle it like the day-to-day thing, and then sometimes whenever I'm around, I just drop in and we have a quick chat about where things are and where things are going. And we were talking, and since the 3.3 update, BGS has been a little buggy, or very buggy, and especially there's some issues with conflicts, like wars, where it's been pretty well documented by now that there was some issues with some people would work very hard in order to try and win a war, but even though they couldn't see any sign of people opposing them, they would still, some days they would lose and the next day they would win. And then on other wars where they just decided to do, well, we're just not going to bother about the war, just let it run out and let it happen, whatever, then suddenly they get a landslide victory, even though nobody apparently was working in that war. So there has been a lot of stuff there that didn't really make any sense. I do believe there has been some patching going on this, and it may have improved. I'm actually not 100% on that. But one other thing that also has been noted is the fact that when you're working in a system, the amount of work that you do in a system is not always correlates to how much influence you get. And yes, they did do a complete revamp of the influence system, and I am aware that there's pool and the influence goes into the pool, and depending on how much you do, but there still seems to be something really, really weird going on with the whole BGS, and it's something that I really hope that Frontier would prioritize bug fixing. Now, we know now, we talked about, that there's not really going to be any news on any new larger updates for the next year and a half. So I hope that Frontier is going to use this time to iron out some of the bugs that are in the game, and especially on the BGS side, because there is a lot of players who are really enjoying it. This type of gameplay who are getting into it. I think a lot more players than most would think. It's often a very dedicated community, people who goes into BGS. But anyway, I just thought I would mention it here in Hello Dave, because it is of course a topic that I also keep an eye on, because we have our own faction, as I said, and yeah, I hope that's something that Frontier would at least look into. I mean, we did talk about some more fine details, some of the findings they have, but if you're more interested and you want to learn more about BGS, I suggest you follow the link for Discord, and then go down to the faction channels. And there are a lot of people who are a lot more knowledgeable about BGS than I am, who can give you a good overview of what's going on. And if you want to join the faction and join the in-game squadron, you're of course more than welcome to do so as well. Again, all the information you need is found on Discord, and there's a link for that in the description below. Oh yeah, and another news. This is actually pretty exciting. I am happy to announce that I will be going to Gamescom this year. I'll be going on Wednesday and Thursday. I'll not be there Friday, I'll not be there Saturday. But if you're planning to go to Gamescom and you'll be there on one of those days and you happen to come by me, feel free to just come over and say hi. It would be absolutely wonderful to meet some of you guys in real life. So if you happen to come to Gamescom on one of those 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday, then I'll definitely be there, and I should be easy to spot. I mean, you all know what I look like, and I'm 1.92 meters, so I'm pretty tall, and I have a big bulky camera on my shoulder, so I shouldn't be hard to miss. But anyway, yeah, really looking forward to that. So, and of course, as I said, I'll bring my camera and I'll do some videos to cover some of it. I have several ideas for videos that I want to do, and of course, all depends on what's actually there. But I'm planning just to pack my camera bag and then just see where it goes from there. I'm not gonna go in and plan it too much. It's gonna be pretty much taking you guys with me on the shoulder, so you can see what Gamescom is and what they have to offer. I'm gonna keep it short this week, but I do want to mention the live stream tomorrow. Last week, of course, I started to unlock the shard cannons. I hope I could have done that in one live stream. It turned out the surface prospecting took a lot longer than I expected. But I did finish off camera collecting some of the last materials. There's still a few we need to cross trade, and there's still some stuff we need to do, and components that need to be gathered. So I'm definitely not done yet, but I did do some of the very repetitive prospecting off camera just to make sure that thing was done. Yeah, so I'll continue that process tomorrow, and of course, business as usual. It will be at 8 o'clock in-game time, streamed both here on YouTube and over on Twitch. It was actually quite fun over the last live stream. I thought I would mention this as well, that from time to time, I, just as everybody else, I have periods where I'm not playing as much Elite as another periods, of course. And I would, of course, still put out videos, but there are periods where I would pretty much 90% of my time in Elite is going in, doing recordings I need for a video, and then editing that, and then I go and play something else. Of course, I still keep up to date with what's going on in the game and read up on news and stuff like that. But from periods, like game time in the game has been pretty limited. But I would definitely say it's actually fun now that just after we got the news of nothing, of that we're not going to get any patches, that for some odd reason kind of actually like re-sparked my my energy in the game and my interest to actually going in. I think it was because it was getting so disheartening not having any information about what was going on. And I also did mention this in a previous Hello Dave, that I would much rather have a, as they now come and said there's not going to be anything for a very long time, rather than having no news at all. Because it was really disheartening for me just sitting there thinking, I have no idea if Frontier's going to announce tomorrow, say, yeah, Elite's going into maintenance mode, we're not going to do anything else with it. I'm glad that they're still planning to do something with it. I would have hoped it would have been a little sooner, but, well, you got to take what you can get, I guess. But it's definitely, actually, funny enough, like re-sparked my energy to do something with the game, and especially this whole thing I started a few weeks back with the one-shot build. It's a bad name because it's not going to be a one-shot build, but that whole going in, trying to see if we can stress the game mechanics, how far can we take it before things begin to break down, before we're gonna get stopped by the game mechanics. I think that's a fun thing to do, and now I'm gonna try to do that with some of the weapons, see if we can find anything. I have several ideas now. Right now, of course, working on the shard cannons, but I also have plans to try and do various versions of cannons and railgun builds, so basically penetrating sniping modules, going for, like, see if you can do an instant snipe of a power plant or a distributor or something like that. But of course, there's still the issue with shields, and I have various ideas how to deal with shields. Some of them are pretty silly, some of them are more sensible. But that's all to come, and hopefully, like, the long-term thing why I'm doing this, and this is something that maybe I haven't been communicating very clearly. The main reason I'm doing this is not to try and break the game mechanics. It is to see how far the game mechanics can take us. And ideally, now that we're building this pretty silly build, which it will be, which is this one-shot build, the idea, of course, is to try and test out something that seems so silly that it probably wouldn't work, and most likely will not. But if we find something that maybe can be tweaked, I hopefully want to try and build that into my CubeComber build in the future, if I can find anything interesting there. I have used in the past high-yield cannon builds, which are fun to use. Like high-yield cannons are basically, they have very high penetration. They go straight through the armor. They just punch a nice round hole in the armor of the ship, go straight inside, and then you just like wreck everything inside the ship. It's a fun build, but the problem is it doesn't really blow up the ship. In the past, if you managed to destroy the power plant, the ship would instantly blow up. That's not how it is anymore. Now the power plant just dies, the ship loses power, and some NPCs don't even lose power. They have a magic power plant that keeps producing power. They can still shoot and fight, even though the power plant is dead. But it is a fun build, but the problem with it is when it comes to hunting NPCs, you will end up with a target where all the internal compartments are pretty much just a pile of dust on the ground, but the rest of the ship, like the outer hull, is still fine, meaning that the ship will not blow up, because the ship will only blow up once the outer hull is destroyed, because cannons don't do that much hull damage. Well, you can see my point. But there may be some ways around it, and this definitely is also something I'll be experimenting with. So I'm basically gonna go and try all of these high alpha kind of builds, and then see if I can find any combination that could work well on a build like the CubeComber. But that is the long-term goal. But I don't expect to have anything that we can transfer over to the CubeComber in at least like 2 months is probably my guess. The time it's gonna take me to get through all of this. But hopefully it's going to make for a lot of interesting live streams, and when I come across something, I'll of course be sure to compress it down and post that in a separate video, going over my findings if I find anything interesting. But anyway, that was a lot of rambling about live streams. But I hope you will tune in tomorrow again, as I said, 8 o'clock, and yeah, YouTube and Twitch. Well, thanks a lot for watching this video today. If you liked it, remember to give a like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.